Okay, we're meeting to consider findings of facts and conclusions of the decision on the application for amendment of the comprehensive plan from commercial to mixed use on property owned by Dan Siegel, located north of 49th North, east of Ammon Road and south of Ryrie Highway in Bonneville County, Idaho. The hearing was held April 28th. And so we're meeting now. Austin has put together some proposed findings. And we'll have him explain what he's proposing and then open it up for discussion. This isn't a public hearing, so we won't be taking any public input, but commissioners are free to ask questions and see if we have any difference of opinion on what Austin's proposing. So go ahead, Austin.
So, as Roger mentioned, it was heard by the commissioners April 28th, 2021, heard by the P&Z March 31st, 2021. It was an application by Jura Holdings to change from commercial land use on the comprehensive plan to mixed use on property that's located north of 49th North, east of Ammon Road, and south of Ryrie Highway, which is located generally out about Beaches Corner. The properties are currently shown as C2 general commercial. As far as the zoning goes, the parcels have been designated for commercial use on the comprehensive plan for the last 20 years. The parcels are still immediately adjacent to other commercially zoned property to the north, east, and west. They are adjacent to residentially zoned property to the south and agricultural zone property on the northeast. The land use to the northeast and west has been commercial use for a number of years. There are properties in the area which could be impacted by a mixed-use land use. If approved, this comprehensive plan map change would create an incompatible comb of land use along Highway 26 with commercial land use, then a mixed-use land use, then again a commercial land use, and then again a mixed-use land use in an area that has been designated for commercial land use for over 20 years. Essentially, as we go through just some of the conclusions here, I'll just read through A and as well as maybe C, but A is the opinion of the county commissioners is that the creation of a comb effect of land use along US Highway 26 is not an acceptable zoning practice, and that the property to the north has been identified and used as commercial property for over the last 20 years, and the property to the east and west is identified as commercially zoned with a commercial land use. It is also the opinion of the commissioners that the land use change cannot be considered orderly because it does not meet the planning goal, which specifically states that we are to ensure that neighboring land uses are reasonably compatible. We must arrange the uses which are made of land use. They are orderly, convenient, and suitably related to each other in their natural setting. B just kind of discusses that it doesn't meet the comprehensive plan goal that new uses should prevent undue concentrations of uses that would destroy living quality, congest thoroughfares, or overload public facilities. And C, the comprehensive plan states that we are to locate commercial uses in areas that are already commercial in nature and can meet the needs of the public by being located near the intersection of transportation corridors. Given that this parcel is located on US Highway 26 near the intersection of Ammon Road and US Highway 26 and is also accessible from the major arterial 49th, it is the board's opinion that the commercial land use in this area has been strategically placed, and because it is located on US Highway 26 and still surrounded by commercial land use on 3 sides, a change to mixed use land use is not compatible. So based on the above facts, it's proposed that the request for amendment from commercial to mixed use be denied. Any questions?
Questions? Concerns that I expressed when Austin was putting these together have been met. I mean, it's tough enough with the impact of the traffic there. Commercial provides less than that. You go to higher density possibility. So I'm okay with it.
Yeah, it reflects my thoughts very well.
Motion.
I'd make a motion that we approve the findings of fact and deny the application.
Have a second?
I second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We'll get a
There's a
signed
signature
copy of
page.
this for For those who are interested, I'd like to remind you that the applicant has 28 days in which to appeal this, so we probably, well, we wouldn't allow you to visit with the commissioners individually till after that appeal time has run, so, okay. Well, we actually got the sheriff on, you're important.
Really? Okay. Okay.
Okay, Bill has come up with a concern because I guess they've done improvements on that rail crossing and the speeds and, you know, that road out there going out to Idaho and the truck traffic. So go ahead and explain.
Well, it's, the speed has just been increasing day after day after day. I know that a couple of months ago, I complained about it, and I think somebody put a speed sign out there. Well, it worked for about 2 hours, and everybody just ignores it because we need some enforcement out there. My mailbox is across the road from my house, and I take my life in my hands when I go out to get my mail in the afternoon because of the speed of these vehicles. And most of the time, the worst part is from 7 to 8 in the morning, where these workers are going up to the Idahoan. And we have agriculture trucks, the trucks that supply fertilizer. Man, I mean, they rip down that road 70, 75 mile an hour because they're in a hurry to get loaded up and get back. Then we have one trucker, it's a big, long cylindrical truck that's full of fertilizer. And I mean, that truck, he really scats up and down that road. And I get out the edge of my driveway and I look down to where the curve comes around. And if there's no cars coming, then I look up this way. But if there's a car coming, I have almost been clobbered a 3 times, and it just scares me to death. And we have grandkids and so forth that come out there, and the traffic is just, and I know quite a bit about the speed. I raced boats in Montana with my father up at Flathead Lake and Polson and Canyon Ferry and Lake Helena and Gates of the Mountains. Came down here, I raced dirt track cars out west of town, stock cars, and I was the motorcycle flagman for 8 years at Beach's Corner. So I know quite a bit about estimating the speed of some of these vehicles. And it's, we come out of our driveway and it's scary. And we need some enforcement out there, really bad.
What's the speed limit out there, Lance?
50.
50?
From the end of the.
You're muted, Lance.
It's 35 just past the new dog run, and then it's 50. Nobody pays any attention to that 50.
I believe it's 50 out there.
When was the last time we did a traffic study?
We haven't done a speed or traffic count on that particular road for a few years.
It's time.
Could we do one? Just so we can kind of identify, would that show the times of day and the speeds?
It
We
would
talk-
show the speed and the times of day of those.
Because that might make it a little easier, Sam, to kind of send some, because especially those commercial drivers with their CDL, I think.
Well, especially where Mr. Craig's saying that it's 7 and 8 in the morning with that heavy traffic going to and from work. We can certainly get some enforcement out there. We can put out our radar trailer to remind them of how fast they're going. I'll get our group working on that. We should be able to do some of that this week.
Yeah, those are, repeat commercial haulers. All it'd take is a couple tickets, and I think word would get around to them pretty quick.
Well, we have out-of-state trucks that come down through there too, taking a shortcut off of I-15, and they don't waste any time cutting down through there. But we also have on Saturdays and Sundays an influx of bikers from that the beer, the joint there across from the elevators, you know, on
Buddies.
Lindsay Boulevard. Yeah, and they come roaring past our place. It's unbelievable. 15, 20 at a time on Saturdays and Sundays. And I'll tell you, they don't waste any time. And I like bikers. I used to ride bikes all the time, but these guys, they really zip up and down that road.
Okay, well, let's get some tubes out there and get a count and see what's going on where we haven't for a while.
It may take us a couple of weeks. We've got most of them out gathering stuff for that oil or gravel to oil conversion matrix. So we'll get them out as soon as we can.
Okay, and then anything you could get out there in the meantime, Sam, to, not give warnings, but actually.
I appreciate it, Sam.
Good to see you. Good to see you, Bill. We'll get some enforcement out there and see if we can't make a difference for you. We'll get some people out there this week.
I'd really appreciate that because it's really getting bad, Sam. And I wouldn't complain, except it's just getting excessive.
Bill likes to complain because that's the only time we get to visit. So.
That's not. If I can catch you on the golf course.
Yeah. You're not too old to golf. I am.
Well, I got to go tomorrow, but with my bad leg, I'm having a hard time.
Yeah.
So, but anyway.
Okay. Thanks,
I
Bill.
want to thank you, and thank you, Sam.
You bet. Take care, Bill. We'll see you.
I think that's all we had for you, Sam. So.
Okay. Thanks. See you, everybody.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Be on for I-15.
Okay. 4-door.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us where we are.
So this is Kelly Hopes. I work with Horrocks Engineers, and talking with Lance earlier this month, we wanted to get together and give you all an update as to where we're at with the I-15 US 20 connector project. And so we wanted to first, I guess there's Commissioner Walker is hopefully not new to the project, but this might be the first time that our team has come before you. And so maybe the first thing that I could do is just introduce the team and who's on and what our roles are. And then we have a few talking points about what the project is. And then we wanted to go through those and talk about where the project is and the schedule and what the future holds there. And then get your questions and concerns after that. But again, my name is Kelly Hoops with Horrocks Engineers. I live and work right here in Idaho Falls. I live in Bonneville County out on 45th Street, Crowley Road. And we've got at ITD, just in that one camera, Jason Minsker, the district engineer, and Karen Hyatt, the assistant district engineer, and Ryan Day, who is the ITD project manager. And the consultant project manager is also on. And that's Cameron Waite with HDR, and he's out in Boise today. So today we wanted to just give you an update on where we stand with the project. And again, we like to come and just visit with you so that you know what is happening, what is true, and what is rumor, so that you guys know what is truly happening, so that you're fully informed and aware as your concerns come up and as constituents approach you. So with that, again, this is the I-15 US 20 connector. Of that, what you're seeing as far as construction out there on the exit 119, that is what we're calling the interim project. And that interim project is exactly that, is an interim to improve safety, but is not going to be the overall correction or overall fix to the overall project. So that project's underway, and what we're trying to do is increase the efficiency of the intersection, adding dual right turn lanes to, in essence, minimize the stacking as traffic would be on the I-15 as it's getting off to head toward Rigby and Rexburg. So that project's underway, and there's a lot of construction. Hopefully within the next day or two, we'll be shifting traffic from traffic that is currently on the east side, shifting it to the west side. and then just continue the other half of construction there. But that is a smaller project. The bigger project is the one we're calling the I-15 US 20 connector, and we've called that one the PEL. The PEL, the planning and environmental linkages portion of it, that actually completed back in December. And that stage of it was essentially in preparation for the NEPA process. And so we are currently in the pre-NEPA or the pre-National Environmental Policy Act phase. We're hoping that with approval from Federal Highway Administration, because they must give approval on this one, that we'll be able to enter the NOI or the Notice of Intent. And that essentially starts the clock for the EIS, for the environmental impact phase of this NEPA study. I know I'm throwing a ton of acronyms out there, and I'll definitely give you notes but hopefully you're all familiar with a lot of these acronyms. But so we are pursuing an EIS. The NOI will start the clock in the fall. And from that, we have a 2-year time clock to go through the NEPA process. And so everything we've done thus far is planning and preparation for that to hopefully make it go smoother, because this process does take a lot into account, and we definitely like hearing and need to hear from the public. So that robust public involvement that we've had thus far, we will continue throughout the NEPA process. So this is just going to be the next step where it becomes official on the time clock. But in that planning environmental leakages study, we whittled it down to 3 alternatives. And that's the E3 alternative, which is the connector, which would be just north of the current exit 119. H2, which is further north, that is north of where the INL campus is now, and carrying it through with a complete study, a no action or do nothing alternative. So those are the 3 alternatives moving forward into that, and there has not been a decision on any of that made yet. But ITD will continue the robust public involvement initiated with the PEL, and we anticipate having in-person and online public meetings. I think the first one is going to be right after the NOI is published, which is going to be this fall. And it's just going to be a continuation of what we've had in the past. We'll look at environmental and impacts to the environment, noise, threatened and endangered species, hazardous materials, historic properties, and also public input. And then based on that evaluation, we'll identify how to modify the project designed to avoid, minimize, or mitigate for any of those impacts, which is a formal part of that process that we must do. And then Federal Highway Administration, who's the lead agency, they will review that document as it's prepared 2 years from that NOI. And if it's acceptable, they'll issue a record of decision. And we call that the ROD. So that's a term you've often heard of CADXs, and occasionally you may have heard of an EA. Well, the bigger environmental document is kind of a step up. CADX, the EA, and then the biggest is an EIS. And the record of decision is the output that we'd be seeking after that document. So that ROD we're hoping that's issued in 2023. And following that, then the final design would begin. And the earliest possible construction would be in 2025 on this project. So that is the big picture and what we really wanted to present to you today. With that, if Commissioner Walker I know that we've had a chance to talk with Commissioner Christensen and Commissioner Reed, and have done for several years, and really appreciate their input. And we'd be more than happy to fill you in, or if you haven't heard of this project, hopefully you have. Hopefully it's not the first time that you've heard of this, but it's one that's really important to the community. We've had a lot of involvement from the county, which has been fantastic. We really appreciate all the input that you've given us thus far. We try to stay monthly in communication with you through the BMPO. the TAC and the policy board meetings. And we'll try to continue that, but we definitely would like to, whenever it's convenient or appropriate for you guys, to come back and meet with you to learn of your specific concerns and be able to talk with you through them. Like I said, no decisions have been made yet. We're still in the pre-NEPA phase, and that's where we're headed with this project. So with that, do you guys have any thoughts or concerns or where we're at right now?
I think you've heard at least my concern, with the one alternative in the hatch pit. So we need to make sure that would be a very difficult thing for us to find another pit. So I think that'll be addressed in the environmental assessment, won't it?
For sure. I mean, absolutely. And one of those things, part of this environmental process, we do need to go through and evaluate impacts. There are defined impacts that, that I've listed out with noise and threatened and endangered species. A lot of those things we have to find out. We'll do as in the pre-NEPA phase and during the NEPA time. There is one of those things that we would love to start doing some geotechnical work. And with that geotechnical work, look for geotechnical ground qualities and concerns. And through that hatch pit, wondering if we might be able to have somebody come out and do test holes maybe this summer and do some investigation and just look. Again, we're looking both alternatives and looking at the directions we're headed there. But is there somebody, or could we get your permission to do some investigations and see what the possibilities would be? And if so, who would be able to grant those permissions?
Lance, what's your thoughts on that?
Through most of the corridor, I think we could work with Blair and allow them to come in at certain times and do some test holes. I don't see that as a huge problem.
Who's Blair, Lance?
Blair Hillam is the solid waste manager.
Okay.
He's kind of oversees the hatch pit and transfer station and stuff.
Wonderful. And then I'll get with you to get his contact information, but we'll definitely work through you all and let you know what and to what extent. And like I said, all it is boreholes or just sampling of materials and test, not necessarily mining for gold or anything. We're just trying to look for what geotechnical reports and things that we need to do for these phases.
How many are you looking at possibly?
Cam, do you know?
I think just 2 or 3 at the most. I'll need to verify with Chuck, but
because the main issue I see with that is there's such a varied amount of waste in that site that 2 or 3 test holes may not give you a representative sample.
okay.
And of course, the second part of that is the mitigation of how to replace the hatch pit. We'd want to have some serious discussions of that because we have no other place to go for a C&D site.
Commissioners, this is Jason Minsker up here in Rigby. A couple questions I have for you. I was wondering if the county had the original ground planned for when the hatch pit was first opened. And then I'm assuming that this is a non-minered waste site. Is that correct, or am I incorrect on that?
You're correct on the non-lined. So there would have to be, if they put that roadway through there would have to be some mitigation to how we would have to replace it. And the standards have changed, and the amount of waste that we put through there. We've done some efforts for recycling and hauling stuff up to the hill to keep that alive as long as we can, which is being successful. But to replace that, that'd be a good.
Correct. So a couple of questions I have though is, can we get the original data so that we can kind of estimate how deep our test pits need to be? Because I believe, wasn't it originally in a hole that the pit started in? So it'd be nice to know the original ground elevations.
Do you have any of those lands still?
I'm not sure if I do. Was it started by Idaho Falls or was it started by us?
It was started by Idaho Falls.
Okay. So we'll ask those questions. We'll get with the city and see if they have the plans. But if you can look around and see if we can find some old plans, that would be great.
I'll look and see what I can find here.
Great. And then a couple other questions I had was, how much? What's your reclamation plan, or what do we need to do if we do go through there? What's the closure plan look like? You know, or what the future capacity, remaining capacity was at. Those are all questions that we'll ask along the way.
So I think the ultimate reclamation plan was intended to have a city park there. Is that correct, Commissioner Christensen?
Yeah, I think the developers that sold property in Pavero told them there would be a city park there within the next year or two. And I think that's when I took office 26 years ago. So I'm not sure they represented that quite correctly. But the closure plan, and you know, we've made some modifications because we haven't been able to find a replacement. And so we're grinding a lot of that waste and hauling it up to the hill. So the life of that has been extended. And if we can keep that up and basically just make that kind of a collection site to grind it, to get it up to the hill, it could have a fairly long life expectancy. There's not many other gravel pits around. We've checked to see if there's any that would be available for sale. I know H&K has one up north, but they're still active and they're not interested. Then they've got one down south by York Road, but that's quite a ways from being mined out. You know, so our concerns, we don't have a solution of where to put the garbage if that's taken away from us. So we would have to have some serious discussion about that.
Yeah, we understand. And then we will look to see if we have any sources that we have depleted, and we have some that are further north, but we'll take a look too.
Okay.
What are the concerns with, I can't remember how they're designated, but the current alignment, the plan that utilizes the current alignment, crosses the river there in a narrower channel. What are the complications you see with that plan?
Well, so the last time I met with you commissioners, Brent with Falls Fertilizer was in the meeting. I've actually met with him. One of the biggest concerns, and I mean, he has a direct impact, is the fertilizer silos right there on the E2 alignment.
But I think what the commissioner is asking about is the C alternative that we screened out of the last school.
Okay.
So if is that what you're asking about, Commissioner?
I couldn't hear you very well, but yeah, I'm just trying to understand the complications with that. I understand, I think the complications with the north route, I mean, the hatch pit's going to be one of the large ones, right? Your biggest concern, but what's the biggest hurdle you have to overcome with the current alignment? Because I understood that it was the least expensive option. And it seemed to be, to me, to be, well, it does impact more businesses there, right? But I've continued to have Brent his concern, and he said, if we need to move, we can move, but they just need to know in advance. So I guess I was just concerned what other complications there are with the current alignment plan.
So the biggest challenge we have with that alignment is, and they're all engineeringly doable, is the closeness of 118 and 119. And so if you remember the diagrams, we were building a lot of structures and impacting several businesses in that area to make both of those interchanges work efficiently. And so, but we can come down and show you the two alternatives, but we're going to have multiple public meetings. On that.
I don't know. Off the top of my head, I can't remember. That's been since last summer since we had that screening where we screened alternative C out. But yeah, we can come back with what the reasonings, because I think it operated better, right? You have the internal circulation of Idaho Falls traffic, as well as people that just want to go through. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, that's one of the things I think we screened it out because operational wise, it didn't work as well as the traffic.
Maybe I could add to that, because Karen's exactly right. There was really, when we went into level 3 screening, we had 3 alternatives. One that we're considering on alignment. That on alignment was alternative C. Alternative E was just north of that. And then alternative H was north of that. We ran through what's called the benefit cost analysis to take into account the benefits and comparatively with the cost to build those. Generally, all 3 of those were really close. They were close within I guess into the level that it was hard to say one of them is jumping out as the obvious winner. All 3 of them were really close. But as we looked at alternative C, or the one that's right on the existing alignment, construction of that, and to take the direct ramps from I-15 to US 20 and the constructability of trying to do all of that construction as tight as everything is right through there and making it all work would have as great of impacts during construction. And it was a huge construction problem to make that happen, as many years as it would take to make that all happen through there. And then, just as Jason was saying, we'd still have the closeness of the Broadway interchange and that US 20 exit interchange, and we had not moved them further apart. So with ramps and with weaving, we would still have some concerns with that area. By shifting it further north with alternative E, we do get more separation between Broadway and the direct ramps there. And then we do make it easier for construction while everything's constructing, keeping the existing alignments moving. So you need to stop me because I could go into way too many details, but we would love to inform you more if you wanted to go into it deeper. So,
but the one you're talking about, alternative E, that's the hatch pit, correct?
Say that one more time.
Is that alternative E you're referring to, the one that impacts our hatch pit?
H.
H.
Yep. H is the one that impacts the hatch pit. E is the one just north of the current Johns Hole crossing, between there and the park. And then alternative C is the one that was screened out at level 3 during the Pell. And C was the one that was on the existing alignment.
Okay, so the E goes north of Falls Fertilizer a little bit. Is that the one that?
Yep, that's the one.
That's the one that came in by, what's that park?
Freeman, south of Freeman.
South of Freeman. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, just understand what our concerns are, and they're pretty significant.
For sure. So.
Yeah, we just appreciate your time, and yeah, we'll keep working towards getting you answers.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna slip into my computer because I want to share a screen on a phone call I had. What other business you got for Road and Bridge? Because this is, well, this will be Road and Bridge and zoning on the proposed annexation or plat that the city's proposing.
We have a state local agreement for signature and authorized payment of this is 97th South Bridge construction match. It's $111,342. So I need a signature on a state local agreement and authorization to put in a claim and get a check. And I will have to use the portal to transfer that to ITD.
Okay, and that's on DocuSign.
Yeah.
It is on DocuSign.
What else you got?
I wanted to ask Commissioner Walker about his conversation with the school resource officer at Thunder Ridge. Was there anything to come out of those between the signs?
He was really interested to look at the document you sent over with the addresses, the locations for the signs that had been vandalized. And it was funny. I walked into his office and he had a couple of the Thunder Ridge signs sitting there that had been egged and ruined as well. And they caught the 3 kids that had done the ones at the school, and he thought that was a really good place for him to start in his investigation with regards to the other signs that had been damaged. I haven't checked back with him since my initial conversation with him, but he really appreciated the information because it rolled right into what he was already working on.
Well, hopefully they can.
Have you had any more?
I haven't heard of any more, but that doesn't mean there hasn't been more.
No, and it may have stopped when he arrested the 3 kids that, and that started because a parent found they stole 2 of the Thunder signs, and a parent is the one who brought his kid in with the sign, and then it kind of rolls out from there. But he thought it was probably the same group of kids. So I'll check back with him here in another week. I know how things go at the schools, so.
Well, hopefully there's not another group
Oh,
out there.
I did have the signs at the boat ramps that you guys put up look really good. Did the text for those come from Craig, or? Do you know?
I believe the text did come from Craig.
Rather than redoing those, it probably would be easier to add another sign below them that includes the standoff distances from shores and people in the water.
Do you have the wording for that?
I'll get it to you.
Okay.
It's that's consistent. Well, that's the one that's different at the shore standoff at Ryrie is different than it is at Palisades. So I want to make sure we get the right information, but
Okay.
that's what's going to stop the erosion is the awareness about staying off the shorelines.
Yeah,
But
just give me the wording.
really visible, so they look good.